This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by world title challenger Sonny Edwards. We're here at the Steel City Gym in Sheffield. How are you, Sonny?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah, a bare minimum of world title challenger now, so that sounds good. At least I can get introduced to that in the ring. I mean, that's not really a good thing, is it, when they say that? I don't think. Former world title challenger, it's like, yeah, he got beat. But yeah, it's good. I'm happy.
We had one recently, so we had on the White Povetkin 2 undercard, we had Campbell Hatton's opponent introduced as a 10-fight veteran. He was 0-10.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to somehow package it, don't you? But yeah, I'm surprised I didn't say only been stopped once. That's what we heard on the commentary a few times.
He's still only been stopped once as well. Shout out the 7-2 for Campbell points. But anyway, as I mentioned there, you are a world title challenger in waiting, or world champion in waiting, depends on how you want to look at it. You're going to be boxing Moruti Mthalane for the IBF world flyweight title. I know that you've been kind of hovering around looking for a big fight at Superfly or Fly. Don't really get much bigger than that, particularly at flyweight.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that he's the Ring Magazine #1. So that just shows the level of the fight I'm getting in with. I mean, a lot of people sort of regard the Ring as the most, accurate rankings. A lot of people don't, just how you look at it. But to be considered #1 at the weight just shows, the quality of fight I'm getting in with. I think he's ranked #3 with BoxRec. This is his second world title reign with the IBF. This will be I think he's made 4 defenses. I think this will be his 5th. So he's a great fighter, someone I've seen up close and I know quite well. And for me, I'm hoping I'm getting him at the right time. But taking that away, he still is a very dangerous threat. I mean, you can see this current title reign in the twilight stages of his career, as you'd think. He's still got plenty left in the tank. I mean, he beat Mohammed Waseem recently to win the world title, and he's tranced every one of his mandatories and his voluntaries in between. So hopefully I give him a bit more to think about than his last however many opponents.
I remember your brother, Charlie, being out to watch him box Mohammed Waseem on the Manny Pacquiao-Lucas Matisse undercard, I think it was, going back a couple of years ago. And I remember that was a fight that was kind of earmarked for Charlie down the line. How did Moruti become an opponent for you? Because I know that you've been quite vocal in calling out Julio Cesar Martinez. I know you've sparred with Artem Dalekane, one of the other champions at flyweight. How did Moruti become kind of the opponent that you landed on?
Yeah, Charlie did go out there because that was at one point, that was looking, before the Rosales fight, that was looking like the fight he was getting. And then I'm not too sure what happened, but he ended up getting Rosales instead. Charlie's ideal plan was to fight Moruti in a unification. Not going into all the details of that, but it was blocked, and that never happened, and he ended up sort of, getting the Martinez thrust upon him. But that's by the by now. But yeah, it's one of those things. I took the Thomas Asomba fight, and we had the choice to try and push that for the Commonwealth, but pushing towards the IBF was the route that I wanted to go. Even though it wasn't Superfly, I'd already won a title at Fly, but then that title got me ranked back up at Super. So it was always in my eyesight. I mean, it's a very dangerous division at the moment, the flyweight. So a lot of people overlook it. I mean, we all know how good Martinez is. Dalekane's a bit of the unknown quantity, but I've been in the ring with him 50, 60, 70 rounds, so I know how good of a fighter he is. And then Nakatani's the last one, isn't he? And he's a serious contender. So maybe with the timing and the stage of the careers, this might be the easier out of the champions. However, track record suggests otherwise. I mean, you don't have all these accolades and beat these fighters you beat and remain undefeated. Well, not undefeated for his whole career, but he's not been beaten in 13 years. You don't do that without being a top quality fighter. So the opportunity come. Obviously, he's also with MTK, so it's just the easier fight to make. He's given me his voluntary defence. I think he probably has always struggled getting the money that he deserves, and hence why he has the inactivity when he does. But I don't think that was an issue. I think as soon as they started talking about the fight, it got wrapped up. It's been made. It's been stalled for announcing for a long period of time. I mean, I've been in camp. It will be 13 weeks from when I found out to when I fight. So So I've had a big long run up, no excuses. It will be the best version of me. But I just feel like it's the right time. It should be a great style for my style. I mean, someone that's constantly forward, quite slow-footed, but strong and aggressive, compared to me sort of flitting and flying around the ring and doing what I can to just stay that one step ahead. It will be, a complete clash of styles, and a lot of the time they make for good fights, because there's no way I'll be able to just keep him at range for 12 rounds. It's impossible with a fighter of his quality. So I feel like it's the right time. I'm hoping my legs outlast his, and I'm hoping that I become world champion on the 30th. And I do genuinely believe that, my team do, and I'm really, really confident going into it.
Going back to kind of talking about going into camp, you made no secret in the past that you can box at super flyweight, but when it came to kind of championship level, particularly world championship level, flyweight was always going to be kind of where you would probably end up laying your hat. Feel strong at the weight? You look good today. You don't look drawn. You look strong at the weight. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, typically a lot of my other camps, find out my fight, crash down a bit of weight straight away. So that's why people will be saying, look, he looks weight drained about 6-7 weeks out. But that's because I would do the big jump early and then hold it. And that's by the time I got into my fight, I was stronger. But this one, I've really not needed to do it. I think I only started camp at about 62, 63, which is still a bit on the heavier side. But for me, that's not on the heaviest side. It's been heavier than that. And like I said, I've had a long run-in. I mean, shout out to Rendell's, who's been supplying all my meat, all my food, and then my strength and conditioning guy who's in the background somewhere, Reese, Elite Step. He wants his first world champion, so he's been taking the meat, or getting it sent to him, and he's been cooking up all my meals, telling me when and what to eat and when to eat it. And honestly, I've never ever done weight better. I've never eaten as much as this. I've never been as full. I've never, it's been the best run at it. Well, if I can't take it seriously for a world title, then I never will. I mean, for my British title, I was eating Monster Munches at 12 o'clock at night 2 weeks before and that. So typically I have always cut corners as and when I can see fit. But this one, there is no room for that. I know the serious threat that I'm in against. And this is what I need. This is why I always wanted to push myself, why I was always asking for the bigger fights. I need to be mentally stimulated. Otherwise, don't get me wrong, I come in and I train hard. It'll be what I'm doing outside of the ring, that's the cutting the corners, going on nights out 5 weeks before fights, and that, just something to do out of boredom. But I've been so switched on. The only thing that's been on my mind is this. Do you know what I mean? And it is the perfect opportunity to announce myself at world level. I'm not sure how the Ring magazines fully work, but if I do beat the number one, maybe that gives me a good claim at number one. I don't know how it works. But my dream has always been to fight for and win a Ring magazine. Obviously, we can't look through this at all. This is my biggest fight of my life, the best fight I've ever been in the ring with, period. So, yeah, I know I can't cut the corners. I've been sparring so many rounds. I've been sparring 8 and 10 rounds with Brad Foster, leading up to his fight. Then Thomas Asomba, Marcel Braithwaite. I did 12 rounds yesterday, 10 Monday. I've got 10 tomorrow. I'm flying. I really am. No excuses. No. I wish I could have done this more. I wish I'd have done that more. If I don't come out of this as world champion, it's simply because I got beat by the better man, and that's it. And maybe I'm not at the level I perhaps thought I was at this stage. I'm that confident in myself, though. I'll get there, and I do think it's this one. I know that I'm a very hard person to win rounds against, very hard. And even when they put a lot into some rounds, they can't keep that up because I've got that negative, awkward style that sort of negates their effort, their work, and takes it away from them. So that's what I'll be trying to do. There's a chance that it will be very similar to performances to every other one you've seen, because if I can keep doing what I can do, I'm not gonna force myself out of it. But like I said, I know that I can't switch off like I did against Granados or Braithwaite. I can't have them sort of half on it, half not performances where I'm not that stimulated by the opponent taking some silly shots, because this is a real life threat where from the first minute to the last he can knock me out with either hand, and I know that to be true. I mean, I've seen what he's done to countless tougher opponents than me, do you know what I mean? So people that have walls and he breaks them down, grinds them down. That's why I can't let him. I've got to have him shadowboxing all night, and got to have him chasing me and getting frustrated and falling over his front foot. That's the game plan. I don't mind saying it, because it's always going to be the game plan, and I think his game plan is always going to be try and break me down and make me cry like a baby back bitch. You know what I mean? So it is just what it is, and I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, like I always say, I love boxing. Like, people don't understand how much. I mean, I don't really have any other passion for anything else in my life. Do you know what I mean? It's all I think about, all I care about, to be honest, apart from obviously being a father and my personal side of things, but it is the only thing in my life. So I know I'm getting there against. I've seen the levels time and time again from outside the ring. I've been in the levels of sparring as an amateur, world champions, etc. So to me, I don't see it as nothing new. I think I can do this. I know I can do this. My team believe in me. My management team, my promoter, they've backed me, funded me, promoted me, put me on the platforms, BT as well. Even now, get my punditry work, help build my profile that little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I'm in a great place right now, and I know now that the crossroads I'm in right now, I'm about to take the left or right path. Either I'll win or I lose. Either way, it's not going to be the end of the world. I've got a nice foundation behind me where I know I'll be able to come back from it, but that's not even in my mindset. Like, I genuinely believe on the 30th I will be world champion, and then I can really start taking over from then. I mean, we don't really see flyweights, super flyweights, regularly fighting on TV. Not from this country, we don't. Apart from me and my brother, really, when you think about it, Cal Yafai as well. You don't see it. You see great fighters that are sort of on YouTube cards and on small hall cards and, scraping together when they can get the opportunity to fight on. And then if I win this, I'll have the stakes to I'll be one of the best flyweights in the world. I believe I am anyway. I believe I'm one of the hardest to beat. People constantly, consistently underestimate my engine and my heart and my determination. Like, if only people really knew what sort of goes on behind the scenes, what I've got into the ring with, what I've got out of the ring with, what's happened in the ring, snapping ligaments, and the extent of to them injuries and my hands, and there's no quitting me, and that's what people overestimate. I don't look for a way out. I don't feel sorry for myself. I get caught with a shot every single time. I'll tell them that, yeah, good shot. You're not going to get it again. Every time. There's no quitting me, like I said. It's something that I have not stopped thinking about for the last, we're 4 weeks out now. So I've not stopped thinking about Moruti and this fight and the world title and the chance to change my life, make my kids proud, make my family proud for the last 9 weeks. I mean, and we're getting closer there. I just can't wait for it to come. I mean, if I could press a button now and it be tomorrow, I promise you I would. I'm not scared of it. I'm not running from it. I'm running straight into the fire, and I can't wait.
Now, not just in COVID times, but certainly recent times, matchmaking has become kind of a vogue topic for people to discuss. We've seen a lot of prospects get beat. We've seen a lot of guys take fights that, in hindsight's a wonderful thing, particularly in boxing, that people say, oh, well, maybe he wasn't ready for that. Do you have any concerns of not taking kind of a middle fight? I know it's kind of a bit harsh on Thomas Asomba to call him a domestic fighter. He's a very good fighter in his own right. We haven't had that bridge gap between him and, admittedly, a Ring Magazine #1 fighter is still it's difficult to find an in-between there. But any concerns about
that? I think Thomas Asomba's criminally underrated. Yeah. If you dissect his career, when he weren't taken as seriously, he was taking fights at short notice. That's when he was getting beat most of the time, let's be real. Not no slight to them, but that's when he was. I think the version that me and Thomas Patrick Ward and Sean McGoldrick and that Kazakh lad got, the version of Thomas Asomba where he's having 8-10 week training camps of fights, is a serious threat to anyone. I've had him in sparring for most of his camp, and he hits me with probably more shots around than anyone I've ever sparred ever. And that is genuinely the truth. Like, he's a very good fighter. He's good at his range. He's strong. He can punch very hard. He just doesn't get the opportunities. I mean, any 2 times Olympian from this country, imagine how they would have been promoted in comparison to Thomas Asomba. But that's the beauty of the beast. It is what it is. So I understand how good of a fight that was. And 6 weeks later, his performance against Thomas Patrick Ward, a world-level fighter, classed as a world-level fighter by the British before that fight, definitely. And look at the performance he put against him. So I've had a few international fights as well. Yeah, arguably no one up as good as that. But when people fight me, it drags them into a different sort of boxing. It's like they wouldn't especially pros that have been a pros a long time, they're usually where I get my most success, typically in sparring, fights, because they're out of the routine of that 100 miles an hour, in and out, in and out. And that's sort of what you've got to do with me, to be honest. You've got to sort of match my energy. If not, I'm outworking you on the long range, the jab, when you are trying to load up and making you miss. So I think his experience and his years in the game might be to his detriment in this fight, because you could look through all 41 of his fights, and I guarantee you'll never, not one of those fighters will look and box the way I do. Do you know what I mean? And looking at me, he probably thinks, I'll give him the first few rounds when he's doing all that thing, and then he'll slow down. But it's not happened yet, and I don't think it will happen on this one. I've never been fitter. Never been more switched on in sparring. I'm in a great place. Maybe I could have had more of the steps in between, but it's not like I haven't wanted them. I haven't wanted. It's like I've tried to get them, but I think at our weights, it's like people a lot of the time only want to fight at world level if they think you're a world level fighter. I mean, look at my British domestic scene. I mean, I beat Farag, I beat Marcel, but everyone else just always says, "Oh, we'll wait for a world title or bigger fight, wait down the line, etc., etc." And it's hard. It's hard to get them. And then you get these internationals with good opponents, good wins, but because no one knows the fighters or the fighters they're fighting too much, because I think how many recognisable names can you really pick out of super flyweight and flyweight? Just because we don't know them don't mean they're not good fighters. Look at that Guerneros. I stood him on his head 10 rounds to 0, and then he went and stopped Tommy Frank. They picked him, looked at him, thought, we'll beat him. Sonny beat him easy, and he didn't. And I guarantee if a lot more of these British prospects went through my records and my old opponents, they wouldn't beat him better than I did. And I think that's the story. If you actually go down through all of them, very, very few people have a better win over me, over the same opponent. Do you know what I mean? When you really dissect it. And a lot of people, they fight people that I've beat and then lose to them, or draw to them, or sneak from one around. It is really what happens. So just because, like I said, they're Mexicans that I fought back to back to back, like Granados, if he chucks him with anyone in Britain, I'd have him punching holes for him unless they know how to move their feet. No one's going to be stronger than him in this country at flyweight. Impossible. Or super flyweight. Impossible. So it is what it is. I know the experience I've always got in the ring. I always spar way above myself weight-wise and try and get the best level. I mean, like Brad Foster, look how good his performance was the other day, and he's a super bantamweight, and he was one of my main sparring partners. I'm boxing at flyweight. Thomas Asomba, really bantam, super bantam, had to kill himself down to get the super fly. Started off the sparring with Josh Padley, who's a lightweight, gives Dalton and Levi and the lads good rounds. And I've always been that way. I need the fear. I need to have that element of I can't let you hit me. And then when I do, I sort of elevate to my reactions go up tenfold. I stop taking the shots. I don't want to give them any. I mean, I would like to have had the more in betweens and maybe the European, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, no one wanted to fight me. We've been searching high and wide. We've been getting opponents in from Mexico, unknown quantities with good records. Got wins against people 26-0s. That's happened twice with two of them. Do you know what I mean? Their last fight, 26-0 win before against that opponent. And then since me, they've gone on to get good wins as well. So what can I more do than just keep getting what I've got in front of me? And to be fair, Asomba, a very, very, very good fighter. Very criminally underrated. Avoided as well. Only the top lads beat him, you know. So it is what it is. I know I'm ready, and maybe I could have had a bit more gut checks, but I'm in a position now where I've got 2 with the WBO, 6 with the IBF. WBC keep changing me up and down. I can't keep up. I was 9, then 15, then 12, then 11. I had no clue, but ranked with the WBC anyway. Get this out of the way, become a world champion, and then really push on. That's my plan. And Maruti's plan is to keep the twilight career of his going and rolling, and his paydays keep coming. So, you know what I mean? It just is what it is. It's one of them crossroads fights.
Big fight for him as well. I mean, the fact that he's not been able to get the big fights throughout his career, as good a fighter as he's been, he has, as you mentioned before, been somewhat inactive and not been able to get those big names. Just Make sure you're in shot. You are. How beneficial do you think the experiences of being around Charlie, even on the night, but in training camp as well for world title fights, is going to be for you in the build-up to this?
Yeah, I mean, do you know what happens? A lot of people get too in their head when world titles start getting mentioned. And then they start going like a rabbit in headlights. To me, I'm just fighting another man, 2 arms, 2 legs. I've fought and sparred and trained tens of thousands of rounds in my life. And in my eyes, I've lost very few of them. I've lost very few of them, to be honest. But it's just someone I've got to beat for 7 rounds out of the 12. And that's it. I mean, there's things that give me confidence. His performance with Wasim pushed very, very close. I stood Wasim on his head in sparring. I know sparring's different. He had a 14-foot ring, metal bar in front of his face, tried walking me down, and I punched his head all over. So that gives me a hell of a lot of confidence. You know what I mean? As well as seeing him spar, do you know what I mean? I know he's a threat and I know he's dangerous, but when I watch someone and I think what I could be doing and what I would do against them, there's not a flyweight on this world that I wouldn't be confident in getting in the ring with. There really isn't. The super flyweights, they're a bit of a killers at the moment for me, and you know, I'm only just starting to go through puberty, so when I come to the other end, then I'll be targeting them too. But I'm massively confident with this, and I just know what I've got to do to beat someone like this. I can't see me getting beat on points with the style matchup. I think I have to go. If I'm losing, I think it's on my back. Do you know what I mean? That's just the way I see it going. I don't think he's outpointing me. I don't think he's outscoring me. Not from range. Like, he's got to get me and he's got to hurt me. And I think he will be chasing the fight. I mean, it might all go tits up. I might just get blasted out in the first round. But that's the way I read it. That's the way I'm looking into it. And a lot of people are backing me. I mean, a lot of people are probably not as well. And like I said, it is massive for him, because really, with the exposure, a lot of the fights he's got, this is probably up there with one of the bigger ones, especially because it's on headlining BT Sport in this country. It's over on ESPN in America. On a good show, it's got Michael Conlan Baluta. I see that Troy Williamson got added against Kieran Smith. It's a good card. And if he does beat me, then I'm sure there'll be another payday over these shows if that's what he wants. And he's always had to travel. And I remember him telling me some of the biggest purses he got when we was chatting. And they weren't massively the best, you know what I mean, to say what he's done and what he's achieved and what really he deserves, I'd think. But like I said, it's the beauty of the beast. But I do think that I'm going to get a very switched on Moruti that knows what he's in against. I mean, he spent the same amount of time I watched him, he was spending watching me. And like I said on the BT broadcast, I got out the ring the first time he'd watched me spar, watched him spar, asked for a picture because I knew exactly who he was, a world champion coming over. And he said that 100% you'll be a world champion. I said, I love the way you box. That's what he said to me. And it's just funny that my first chance to do that is against him. And you know, it's one of them ones, right, where I always look at things logically, and if I'm ever going to find out about myself and learn a lesson of a loss as a pro, this is the perfect person for it to be against. A legit, or the number one in the world. Such a humble, nice person that I generally have a lot of time, a lot of respect for. And I'll learn a lot about myself in this fight. That's another thing I will learn a whole heap about myself that I haven't given the chance to yet, because I haven't been drug into the deep waters that I know he's going to take me into. But it's my job to come out swimming on the other end rather than drowning, and that's it. I relish the challenge, and I always have. And no matter how this goes, on the other side of that, I'll be looking for the biggest fights and best fights that the people want to see me on, that my name, that my performances and my platform and my profile deserve and can achieve. I will never be one to think, let me drop down to this level, have a couple of 6 rounders, 8 rounders, get my confidence back. If the people want to see me in big fights, if BT want to pay me and Frank wants to promote me, and it's never going to be hard for me to get in the ring. And win, lose or draw, I'll still be coming out the other side thinking I'm the best in the world. And I really will, because what's the point otherwise? I'll just be making excuses like, every dog has its day, you know what I mean? But it's just boxing, it's a sport. I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is. Just have to take the rough with the smooth. But I do think, like I keep alluding to, that this is the one. I think this is the one I'm going to get. if you gave me the choice of the 4 world champions right now to fight, it would be Moruti. It would be. There's some dangerous names at flyweight, and so there should be. You don't get world titles for no reason. You don't get world titles for no reason. And a lot of the flyweight world champions end up going up a few weights and winning world champions. Same with the light flyweights, because a lot of the men down at this weight are just the ones that really can be bothered to put their body through that extra extreme of getting down to that weight, when a lot of people won't. How many times you see a lightweight that should really be fighting at featherweight but allowed himself to just build up and get over? How many times have we seen that? Especially in this country. That's why there's only 11, 12 flyweights, 15 super flyweights. Really, half the bantamweight should be down at that weight. And if there was serious world fighters, they probably would be. But, you know what I mean? When you got 5'2" bantamweights, it's like, you don't. Why can't you drop down an extra kilo? No, I don't care how big your legs are. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
You mentioned there kind of topping the bill. It's quite rare for flyweights, little guys, little fighters, to top bills in this country. Obviously, your brother has done it. Kind of brings with it, I say, its own pressure. Pressure is not necessarily a bad thing. There's always going to be pressure, particularly around world title fights. The way you carry yourself on social media, you're always going to invite people to watch you, whether good, bad. You mentioned there, people backing you, people not backing you. Does that play any part in your thinking in the build-up to this? You don't strike me as somebody who wants to prove people wrong. You seem very kind of content in what you do. But does that impact on your thinking anyway at all?
I think the main difference of me and a lot of fighters and a lot of people I see in boxing is I have no desire to be famous. I don't want to be a celebrity. I want to be a boxer. I want to be known for boxing. I understand that with, exposure, your money goes up and more people want to watch it. I understand that. So for that side of things, I'm here. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm a little wind-up merchant anyway. I've always got something to say. I've always got to have the last say. You know what I mean? It's just my character. In and out of the ring, it is. I don't care about proving people wrong, because really, all them conversations I have when I'm speaking nonsense, I'm speaking to idiots. I'm being an idiot speaking to idiots. It's an idiot's playground. That's what Wiley said, and it's true. And if then people want to spend 5 minutes out their day, 15 minutes reading my tweets and replying to everything I say, and what they don't realise is they're kind of advertising for me. And that's one thing I learned from really, really early on. There's as much, if not more, money in the people wanting you to lose. Because I'll probably end up making more money on the slide of my career, when, all right, then Sonny's the opponent now, let's get him in as the opponent. I'll probably start making more money from that. I don't know how long being the A-side, being the prospect will last. No one does. But because I'll take any fight, I can talk myself into fights. I can build them up if it is needed to be. If it's a respectful build-up, then I can be respectful. I don't really think I need to get into people's heads what a lot of people do. But the ones that tried getting into my head, i.e. the Ryan Farrags, I'm all there for that energy. But like I said, I don't need none for this. I would have nothing but good things to say about Moruti. And hopefully he don't hit me as hard if he sees any of the interviews. Like people think I'm just a disrespectful little prick, when really that can't be further from the truth. People leave me alone, I leave them alone. I don't ever go just targeting people. Maybe a couple of people that I wanted to get in the ring with, but it always would start respectful, me just saying I want to fight them, then them saying, oh, you don't offer me nothing, and then we can, okay, let's go for the back and forth, you know what I mean? So, but for the most part, if people leave me to it, I'm leaving them to it, do you know what I mean? I wouldn't say I'm problematic, I'm just very reactive. So yeah, proving people wrong, that doesn't even go into my mindset. I mean, it would be nice to sort of validate all the things I've been saying and the level that I think I'm at and think I've been operating at. It would be nice to validate that on a global scene, but winning that world title and bringing it home to my baby would be there much bigger than, I told you so, to people on Twitter. Like, it's like I've been saying. I just understand that I'm probably in the least glamorous weight class in boxing, flyweights. Even the name of it is kind of patronising, you know what I mean? Flyweights, you know what I mean? But somehow, with a style that's not particularly the most exciting, especially not for I don't come out and just chin people. I mean, if I was a flyweight little Roman Gonzalez, British version, that was just chinning everyone, you'd understand why a lot of people is tuning in. That's not me. Maybe it will be in the future if I join certain gyms in Yorkshire, but that's not me. I've got a style that by the third round, the crowd's quiet if everything's going to plan. You know what I mean? If everything's going to my plan, you don't really hear much. You might hear, go on, Sonny. You know what I mean? It nullifies the opponent's crowd, and because it's just consistent scoring, the crowd sort of get dimmed a bit. And that is true, but then somehow, no matter what I do, because I split opinion, because I divide opinion, because people have this sort of image of me to such an extreme degree because of the certain things that they see. When I get on something like Macklin's Take, or when I get on BT and actually speak in sense, and I've actually got my, my grammar school cap on, like I'm actually an intelligent lad when I want to be. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, fucking hell, when I saw Sonny Edwards on BT, I thought, fucking hell, we're in for something here. And then it was pleasantly surprised. I don't mind constantly doing that, pleasantly surprising people. Because the people that don't like me aren't going to like me anyway, but they're going to be watching. The people that are like, yes, Moruti's going to knock him out, they're going to be tuning in. And when it comes to the end and there's, oh, this show with Sonny Edwards headlining did this, that's fine. Whether they want me to win, whether they want me to lose. Look at Adrian Broner, he's made his whole career on people wanting to see him get beat. I could Floyd Mayweather the whole career on the majority of people wanting him to get beat. I've realised that from a very early age. The boxers that get too tied up on wanting everyone to like them, boxing's a hard world if you want everyone to like you. Really, it really is. If you go in there not caring about who you really upset, win, lose or draw, you just come back the next fight, get stuck in. It's an honest conversation. You'll find out your level. Your level will find you. You know what I mean? You can have 20 knockover jobs and be the next Prince Naz or whatever they want to hyperbole to, but you'll find your level when it's that time. And if I go and win this, then I've had one of the best starts to a career. Bear in mind, I didn't even start on the small halls in this country. I was in small halls in Spain, then Scotland, then at the Leisure Centre in Tolworth, then at midnight on the Javonta Davies bill. It went Javonta Davies, Sam McNess, and then me. Do you know what I mean? There's 2 floats. I was the second. I was a reserve float. Then 5 o'clock in Belfast. Like, I've done it the hard way. I had to earn my shots, my TV shots, and so now people understand why I'm not apologetic for doing and saying as I please when I please. Bear in mind, I've said a whole lot over the years, and I've never had to issue an apology to keep my career going. I've never had no scandals because, like, I've got a good moral compass. I'm not a bad person. I just know trigger points. If someone wants to come at me and start abusing me, it's fair game. I'll abuse you as much as I see fit. And that's all that is. I mean, I don't hold no mental energy for that. I actually laugh at most of the comments I read about myself because I take the piss out of myself more than anyone could. I know I'm an ugly kid with fucking yellow goofy teeth. I'm 5'3". I've had to. You know what I mean? And I was even smaller in comparison when I was at school. So I've had to. I've heard everything. It don't bother me. It just is what it is. I get in our box. Whatever it is. If they want to watch, they want to watch. If they don't, they won't. But as long as I can keep my name relevant, people wanting to watch my fights, I'll still be able to keep providing for my family. And that's the. I'm a bit of a. I wouldn't say clown, but yeah, you know what I mean. It's entertainment. People want to feel something, even if that feeling is resent or disgust or happiness, or people want to feel something when they're looking at the TV or when they're looking at interviews. That's it. And I understood that from a younger age than probably most.
I think there's obviously there's the Mayweather. As long as you're, whether you're watching me because you want me to win, watching me because you want me to lose. As long as you're watching. There's also an old Oscar Wilde quote where he says words to the effect of, "The only thing worse than people talking bad about you is people not talking about you." So I think that's always a good thing to bear in mind when you're in the boxing business. As I mentioned earlier on, matchmaking, seen in recent months, Daniel Dubois, Anthony Yard, Willie Hutchinson recently kind of be derailed, let's call it what it is, in their quest to become world champions, and very highly touted prospects in their own right. It's fair to say that BT need a win when it comes to the people that they've invested in over the years, you being one of them. Again, not pressure, but does that kind of weigh on your mind a little bit?
What it does open my eyes to that if I do pull this off, I mean, I've just signed a new extension for my contract. I'm in a good place no matter what happens in this fight. I'll be real with you. So that it's like I'm not free falling. We've got a backup plan. We've got our best case scenario, and that's the way you got to be. But it does show me that if I do come and pull this off, and when I do pull this off, that I will be a big deal on my side of the pond. A very big deal. In British boxing, there's not very many world champions at the moment. Shout out Lawrence Okoli for the most recent one. And what a great performance that was, I'd just like to say. But yeah, it's a good time. I mean, when there was 15 world champs, it might have been less of a big deal. He's only a flyweight anyway. You know what I mean? He beat someone that's 38. You know what I mean? But yeah, there is that. But at the same time, I box for me. I box for myself. I can only do what I can do. I mean, sorry if I let everyone down, but I'm just gonna do my best. I mean, you'll see the shape I come in. I'm in better shape now than I probably have been in the ring of any of my fights, and I've still got 4 weeks to go. I usually don't start trimming up until 3-4 weeks out. I'm usually very fleshy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a great time to have this opportunity for me, and hopefully this will be the last fight I have to do without fans. But that might again play to my advantage. You know, I'm not worrying about people being there. I'm not worrying about selling tickets. I'm not that I have to do it anyway, but naturally I'll have loads of people. You know, people have messaged me asking for tickets, and I'm like, it's behind closed doors. You know what I mean? Even a few chances going, can you sneak one or two in? Like, hold on, I don't think you've been to any of my fights. Do you know what I mean? But it's not a great time for British boxing for the whole grander scheme of things in the world level. But we've got some real good fighters coming through. The next crop, and this always happens. It swings and roundabouts. It cycles. I mean, it's one of those things where we're getting a reputation of fighters that are getting overbilled and then coming up short at the world level, and that's one thing I'm looking to try and avoid being a part of that club. But I mean, like I said, it's honest conversation, so I'm going to get put in that club if I like it or not. Do you know what I mean? If I don't win, so it's just one of those things. I'm still young. People, because I've been around for a little bit now. I've had 15 fights in my 16th. People don't realise how young I'm. I'm only 25. Say that I've been boxing in title fights now for the last 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Like, I've done the rounds countless times, so the rounds have never been an issue with me. First and last round, I'm usually as fresh. It's just one of those, I think, if not now, when? And this, like I said, will give me the best learning experience I could possibly have. And if it all does go tits up, I'll know what to work on and push on. I won't throw my toys out in the pram and think, I feel sorry for myself, the whole world hates me. It's not that hard. As long as I'm getting paid, as long as there's a fight date on the other end of it, that's all that matters. I mean, I lost as an amateur. I can lose as a pro. I've lost to people a lot worse than Moruti Mthalane, do you know what I mean? But I've beaten a lot better people than I've ever lost to at the same time as that. So with me, the best fighters always bring the best out of me. So I'm excited to see what version this brings out of myself. Because in sparring, the focus I've had, the switch on I've had is different to a lot of the last fights. I mean, you see that when I had my first step out against Farag, how switched and razor focused I was, how good that performance was. And then those fights that everyone else probably was sitting there thinking, who cares about this? It's Sonny Edwards versus some random. That's in my head too, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not seeing them as much of a threat as someone else, or the fight is as big a stakes as someone else. So you get sort of like a dumbed down version of me. No, that's always been the case. I was having this conversation with Marcel yesterday. I mean, I was pretty poor for the first 7 rounds. I was winning them all, apart from the second round, but pretty poor for one reason or another. But then got put down in that 7th round, come up in the last 5 rounds, I was a different fighter. Different fighter, different rhythm, different pace, different switch on. Like, I need that real life threat in front of me. I do. And with Moruti, as soon as they said this fight's happening, I get goosebumps straight away. Okay, let me go running right now. Do you know what I mean? Because it is that much of a threat. Like, for 39 wins, 26 knockouts at flyweight. I'm not trying to be a a 40th win and 27th knockout. I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to be the third loss. That's it.
Final question. I mentioned Charlie's world title win. I was there that night. I was in the dressing room afterwards where he brought the WBC title over to your mum. What would it mean to you to make her the mother of not one but two world champions on April the 30th?
Do you know what? This is always a weird question which I constantly get asked a lot. And I put something on Twitter about midnight yesterday. I get in my thoughts and I just have to pull it to somewhere. And because I ain't got a girlfriend at the moment, I'm not going to want to tell. So Twitter's getting it at the moment. If it was up to my mum, we never would have boxed. My mum used to hide sweets and bags of sweets and Pringles, and we used to sneak out the house and go over to that road to Asda where she worked, and she'd get us like 15, 20, 25 pound worth of just shit food, right? If it was up to my mum, we would never have had one single fight, and that's the truth. So yeah, it would be nice to bring in. My mum will be proud of me and achieving what I wanted to achieve, but that's as far as it goes. She wouldn't know the difference between a Southern Area title, British title, or IBF. Really, she wouldn't. Not when she was able-bodied, or not. Definitely not now. Do you know what I mean? That's just the truth of it. I mean, I've never really wanted to speak on my mum too much. She was ill for a very long time. I had a lot of fights before anyone really caught wind to it and knew about it, because for me, I think certain things should be kept private. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good little sob story, innit? But that's why look at all my fights, my build-ups, my press conferences, I'll get asked about and I'll skip over it quite quick. It's not something that I feel needs to be in the public eye. I mean, everyone deals with stuff themselves, but I'm not trying to make my world title story being about making my mum proud. Because like I said, if it was up to her, right, we never would have started boxing at 9 years old. Definitely wouldn't have gone pro. Do you know what I mean? She just wanted us to be happy little kids being kids, you know what I mean? And with boxing, you do lose a lot of that childhood, you do, especially the way we was training, how we was training. And my mum always saw that. That's why when I did move with my mum when I was 14, she let me do whatever I wanted. She was very lenient on me. I'm not a stupid kid, so I was never getting in too much trouble, but she just always wanted me to be happy, stress-free. So, yeah, it'll be nice to her. But I get a lot more enjoyment, a lot more satisfaction about having my baby and my son around her than bringing a title to her. Do you know what I mean? And that's just me speaking from the truth. I mean, it's one of those things that she's not even going to be at this fight. I could probably get her in, one which way, even though it's behind closed doors. I know there's been, green zones and stuff. But I told my sister I don't want her there. This is a real... My mum sits there crying for 10 rounds when I'm beating someone 190. Did you hear what I'm saying? 190, she'll be sat there crying the whole thing. so I'm not about to put her through what this could be. Like, I can't remember who it was recently that did this, didn't have their kids watching them fight. Lyndon it was. And I understand that. He said, nah, you know what I mean? And I understand that. Because when you get to this stage of the fights and the you know what time it is. This could be a 118, 110, Sonny Edwards and a new. I mean, hopefully I start 6 rounds up like some of these other fighters in Britain have recently, but no, I'm joking. I want fair judging. I do want fair judging. Because if this fight should have went one way and went my way for a world title, it would break my heart. And I would generally be the first person to say that. Well, we'll see how it goes. And if that ever happens in my career, I'll be the first person saying, nah. Do you know what I mean? To me, like, if you get the right side of the wrong decision, you'll earn more respect and more fans and support. Being honest with yourself. Don't come out of a fight that the whole world's pointing you're saying you lost and be like, nah, I won that fight. Because now you just... And then you wonder why people are being all negative to you now. I'm a realist. I think I'll always give my accurate and honest opinion. I mean, I think that's why people liked me when I was on BT, because they asked me a question, I just answer. I mean, I know what you do say, and there's certain things you wouldn't say even if it was my opinion, but it's good to be constructive. I mean, we don't just want positive, because people don't like that. People turn comment. How many times do you see on Twitter, I've turned the commentary off me? You know what I mean? I can't listen to the commentators, X, Y, Z. A bit of honesty, it goes a long way. And I just hope for fair judging. I hope that for good camp. I hope COVID stays the fuck away. Because if he's coming with that dangerous South African variant they keep talking about. a load of bollocks. But yeah, I just hope for trouble-free camp, trouble-free fight week, trouble-free fight. Both go home to their family, our kids, and hopefully I'll win. And deserve to as well. I don't want no gimmies or no sneak throughs, or because we have getting a bit of a reputation now in Britain. Let's be real. Let's call it for what it is. I mean, I'm not going to get in trouble for this. It's not that scandalous, but it's heartbreaking when these fighters come over here and deserve wins and don't get them. Because over here we've got a good quality of life compared to a lot of these countries, and they're coming over, everything stacked against them, putting in the performance of a lifetime and getting sent home as a loser when they don't deserve it. I don't like it. I think the winner should win, the loser should lose. Because I can be a loser, I can be a very good loser. I learn a lot from my losses. Trust me, every time I've lost in the amateurs, I've learned a hell of a lot, from more than any of my wins. Learn a lot about myself. It gives me that kick up the arse that probably I needed. So yeah, it's just one of those. That's what I hope for, and it would be nice to have my mum have 2 sons as well, champions. And my dad as well, let's not forget Pops. But yeah, man, our family's a weird one. I could sit and speak about my family for fucking hours, but it's it is what it is. I just hope that my family beneath me are always, full of nothing but love, never see nothing but love and support. And that's what I'm in control of. I'm in control of, so yeah, like I said, if my son can say on the school playground, well, my dad was a world champion, so that'd be good enough.
My dad was a world champion boxer. He could beat up your dad.
He is 5'3" and weighs about 8 stone, but they don't really, as kids, you don't really understand that, do you? You don't really understand, like, if he's a lot bigger, he's going to beat him. Yeah, that would be more than anything, because if you see, I took Chance down when I was sparring down Jamie Moore's gym a few weeks ago, Sean McGoldrick. And Chance loves it, man. Running around in the ring, doing circles, about 50 laps of the thing, then punching every single bag, and, got running up to Carl Frampton. I had to pull him away so he wasn't interrupting his last training session for a world title fight. But yeah, they're the memories that they mean so much to me. And yeah, it would be nice to have a replica IBF world title up on the wall somewhere. Do you know what I mean? In this gym, and then in my trophy cabinet. And then once it's there, them ones don't disappear. I mean, they've robbed my British title off me. And I don't know the full-on rules. I'm not sure that. Someone said to me that if you just box a world title, you have to vacate it. But I thought it was if you won the world title, you have to vacate it. So I'm not too sure. But if I do lose, I'll be coming straight back for that British title. That'll be the first order of business on the Monday. Yeah, let's get put in for the mandatory. Get a little 4-6 round done and fight for that in 3 months. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. This is a serious fight. I mean, I'm an underdog on the odds, the bookies, which is great. So now the people that I wanted to be putting a bet on me and support me and back me in that way, their whole life, they now can see Dennis McCann reckons he's putting $2,000 in it. Fucking don't come and knock on my door if you don't come through. Fucking hell. But yeah, it's good, man. Boxing's been good to me right now. It's had some frustrating periods these last year and a half with the inactivity. That's COVID. That's a global pandemic. No one can do about that. I've always been ready. I've always been one of the most active fighters as and when I can be. And long may that continue. If I come through this fight and win, I'm thinking, when's my next paycheck? 8-10 weeks, I'm good to go. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I said, boxing is the best thing in my life. The only thing I'm good at. The only thing I've got together. Like in the midst of all the chaos is where I find my calmness, honestly. I genuinely believe that no matter what's going on outside my life, boxing's always been my escape. So I've looked after boxing for a long time, so hopefully it starts looking after me.
Well, we will see in just over 4 weeks' time now. It's really coming. This year's flying by already. It's terrible. But Sonny Edwards, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me in the gym today to discuss your world title challenge, April the 30th against Moruti Mthalane, live on BT Sports in the UK and ESPN Plus in America. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social, Sonny. Catch up with you soon.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming down.